We've been working with Chris from YRG on getting our Scara robot set up, and we're ready to configure our add-on instructions, our AOIs in Studio 5000. But before we start, I just want y'all to understand the clear advantage of using add-on instructions versus programming with a pendant or in some type of robot software.
So, Tim, this is our add-on instruction gurney that I take around the country and show off to engineers and more so maintenance technicians. And what I try to do is I try to show them the end game because what inevitably happens is it's 2 a.m. in the morning and Betty Sue, the operator, wants you to touch up the points on the robot. So what do? You got to remember how to use a pendant. You got to remember how to connect to it with a laptop. But with AOIs and a panel view or an HMI, you can do robot touch-ups all with inside the PLC. And now you don't need all of that stuff. So let me just show you real quick. Okay, so we're going to come over to the panel view here, and we're just going to kind of introduce how add-on instructions work for in maintenance reasons. So this screen right here, what it kind of demos, and on our laptop, we've got an AOI that's up right now. And if we push and enable that rung, that AOI executes in the ladder logic and it tells the robot to move to point one. So that is a pre-taught position one over there, and we have a pre-taught position two over there. So just by pushing the two buttons, all we're doing is telling the robot, move to point one, move to point two, okay? Now, those points are actually stored in the robot controller there, all right? Now, if we want to, we can actually store the positional data of the robot in the PLC, and that would be more desirable for that. Okay, so this is a move block, and since this is a 400 millimeter Scara, we can actually type in the value of the tool center point directly into a move block. And I'm kind of telling you this to lay a foundation here. So I'm going to hit move point here, and you can see that the robot stretches out to 400 millimeters of Y, and it's straight in line for X. We can go halfway and do 200, maybe a little bit of Z, 45 degrees of R, okay? And we can move the robot and it moves to that position. We can also flip it to right hand and tell it to move to the same position. That's all happening with just a simple move add-on instruction that we see on the laptop there. And again, we're doing all this without actually teaching a point, okay? So now that we have kind of a basic foundation here of that, let's go into the teaching screen, all right? So this is back to our story of Betty Sue, the operator. We've got basically an array set up here, and I'm going to show you what that looks like on the PLC side. And so if we go into controller tags, okay, so if we go into robot points here, we can see an array of robot points. So we kind of need to see how this works. We have array 0 and array 1 and array 2. And as you can see, this structure holds the X and the Y, the Z, the R, and the a point comment here, which is important. And this is where the point data of the robot is actually stored in the PLC, okay? So that's what we have up here. This 0 represents array location 0, which is at hold position, okay? So we're going to free up the robot and hit get positions. And when we do that, we're now able to see on the panel view right there, as you move the robot, the actual TCP value, sort of in real time, if you will, of where this is at. Okay, so now that we kind of have a basic understanding of what's going on, let's touch up the points here. So let's say that this is the robot's home position. So we would want to go here and hit teach. And what just happened is it captured its current location with the servo motors off and in a free state, and it wrote those values into array location 1. And so now what the next step of the panel view is say, tell me where the pick position is. Okay, so we're going to grab the robot by the snout and say, all right, this is the new pick position that we need to teach. We're going to hit teach, grab those values, store them into array 1. And now we're going to do above pick position. So typically you're going to raise the part straight up. And we're going to grab those values, teach position. And then we're going to go over here. And maybe we'll twist the R axis a little bit and say that's the above place position, hit teach. And then we're going to lower it down to a at place position and hit teach. Okay. So what just happened there? We basically taught 5 points in probably less than 30 seconds. I guarantee you less than 30 seconds. You could probably go back and look at the video frames. All right. If you were going to do that with a pendant or a laptop, you would have a lot more time touching up and teaching a robot in that time frame. So that is really the number one advantage of using add-on instructions in conjunction with a panel view. So we'll go ahead and turn the servos back on. And then this is a replay panel. So we're going to tell the robot to move down to the home position. Okay, that was what we taught. Now it says at pick position. Okay, so there is where we taught the pick position of the robot. Move to the above, move to the place, above place. Now move to the at place position, and then go back to the home position. And we can just cycle through all of the points, then, basically teach the robot in that manner. So that really is a very powerful feature of why you want to use add-on instructions with a robot or a single axis action.
So that's your game plan. And we're going to go almost in the exact same steps that Chris just explained to us. We are going to get this operating in RCX Studio and learn how to program points in it and go through our point pattern. And then we are going to use this add-on instructions, and we are going to put the points in the PLC. And finally, we are going to tie it over to Google Sheets and actually get the points out of there. So let's go ahead and click here to follow us over there.